Here's your full story, polished and structured for clarity and impact. The three things: I was sitting in my truck with the engine off. It was 2:17 in the morning, and her bedroom light was still on. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. It was her. Again. Third time in 10 minutes, I didn't answer. I already knew what the three texts said without reading them. Where are you? Are you okay? Please come home. I'd been parked there for almost an hour, just watching her shadow move behind the blinds. And I realized I was testing her. I wanted to see how long she'd wait before she gave up on me. That was the night I finally understood what real love looks like. And it terrified me. We'd been together for almost 4 years at that point, living in a little second-floor apartment above the laundromat. It wasn't perfect. The pipes knocked at night, the heat barely worked in winter, but it was ours. She worked early shifts at the hospital. I worked nights at the warehouse. Our schedules barely lined up. Most mornings, I'd come home and she'd already be gone, but she always left coffee in the pot for me. Still hot. That was the first thing. She remembered things I didn't even say out loud. I'd mentioned months before that I hated cold coffee. She never forgot. She was like that with everything. My mom's birthday, my truck's inspection date, the way I took my sandwich. She kept it all in her head. I used to think that was just her being organized. I didn't know it was love, that I wasn't good at that stuff. I grew up watching my dad walk out. Then my mom's boyfriends walk out. I learned early that people leave when it gets hard. I kept waiting for her to do it too, and my friends told me I was lucky. She's too good for you, man, they said. They were right. And that scared me more than anything, because if she was really that good, losing her would actually break me. I started picking fights over stupid things. The dishes, the laundry, how late I stayed out. Not because I was mad, but because I wanted to see if she'd flinch. If she'd finally say enough. She never did. She'd just stand in the kitchen silence and look at me. Then she'd say, "Talk to me when you're done being angry," and go to bed. That drove me crazy. Because most women I'd dated before would have slammed the door by then. She just waited me out. Then I got laid off. They cut the whole night shift at the warehouse in March. I didn't tell her for 2 weeks. I'd leave the house at 10 p.m. like normal and just drive. Sometimes I'd sit in the Walmart parking lot and scroll my phone. Sometimes I'd go to the bar down from the old job, order 1 beer, and make it last 2 hours. I told her work was slow. She knew. She didn't call me out. She just started leaving dinner in the microwave for me again with a little note on top. "Ate without you. Love you." That was the second thing. She fought for us even when I was acting like an idiot. She didn't yell. She didn't beg. She just showed up. Every single day. One night, I came home, and she was awake, sitting at the kitchen table in the dark. Only the light over the stove was on. She said, "Where were you tonight?" It wasn't a question. I lied. Right to her face. I said, "Overtime." She nodded. She didn't argue. She just slid my plate across the table. Her hand was shaking. That should have stopped me. It didn't. I felt this weird power in it, like if I could push her hard enough, I'd finally see the limit. I needed to know where the line was. I pushed more. I stopped answering her texts during my fake shifts. I let her calls go to voicemail. I'd come home at 3 a.m. smelling like that bar. She'd be asleep on the couch with the TV on low. One time, my phone buzzed while I was in the shower. It was on the bathroom counter. She picked it up. I heard the hallway footsteps stop outside the door. My chest just froze. She knocked once. She said, "Your mom called." Then she set the phone down and walked away. She never looked at my messages. Not once in 4 years did I felt guilty and relieved at the same time. Guilty because I was lying. Relieved because she still trusted me. And part of me hated her for that. By April, I was barely home. I told myself I needed space to figure things out. Really, I was just scared. Scared that she actually loved me for real. And scared I'd ruin it like I ruin everything. That I started hanging out with a girl from the bar, Jenna. She worked days at the gas station across the street. We'd just talk. Nothing happened. But I didn't tell Anna about her. That was the point. That I liked how easy it was to talk to someone who didn't know me. Someone who didn't leave coffee or write notes. Someone who wouldn't care if I disappeared one night. Jenna said, "You don't seem happy at home." That I didn't answer. I just stared at the neon beer sign over the bar. It buzzed. I felt sick after. Meanwhile, Anna was still doing those three things. Every morning, coffee in the pot. Even when I hadn't slept there, she'd text me, drive safe. Not where are you? She'd leave the porch light on and I came home late on a Tuesday. She was folding laundry on the bed, my shirts, my socks. She didn't look up. She said, your interview is Thursday at 9. I stared at her. I hadn't told her I had an interview. I'd applied 3 days before and forgotten. She'd found the confirmation email when she was paying the internet bill. She'd printed the directions. That was when I felt the floor drop, because that's what love actually does. It remembers when you forget yourself. I wanted to cry or yell or something. Instead, I said, thanks, like she was my secretary. She just nodded. The next day, I didn't go to the interview. I went back to the bar. I told myself I was proving a point. I don't even know what the point was anymore. My phone buzzed at 8:45 p.m. It was her, not a text, a call. I let it ring. Then it buzzed again. Voicemail. I listened to it in my truck. Her voice was calm. Hey, I'm making soup. There's plenty if you want some. No pressure. Love you. She wasn't crying. She wasn't mad. That made it worse. I sat there in the dark parking lot for an hour. The rain started hitting the windshield. I thought about driving home. I thought about driving to Jenna's. I didn't do either. When I finally got home at almost 2, the house was dark, except the kitchen. The pot was on the stove on low. She'd waited up. She was at the table with her head on her arms, asleep. She heard the door and sat up fast. Her eyes were red. She said, I was worried. I said, I'm fine. She stood up and hugged me anyway. I could smell her shampoo. I could feel her hands shaking on my back. She didn't ask where I'd been. She just said, soup's probably cold now. That was the third thing. She stayed. When any other person would have packed a bag and left. When it would have been easier, cleaner, smarter. She stayed. I hated myself in that moment. More than I've ever hated anyone. Because I knew I didn't deserve it. And I was terrified she was finally going to figure that out. I started leaving my phone face down. I deleted texts from Jenna before I walked in. I started sleeping on the couch on purpose, just to see if she'd stop making the bed for 2. She didn't. She made both sides every morning. Smoothed my pillow too. One night, she knocked on the bathroom door while I was in there. Not because she needed anything. She said, I love you. Just in case you forgot. Through the door, my throat closed up. I didn't say it back. I turned the shower louder, so she couldn't hear me not answering. After the third text, I turned the truck off. I finally turned the key. It had been off. I got out, and my legs felt numb. The porch light was on, like always. I could see her through the window, at the kitchen table. I opened the door slow. The hinges squeaked. She didn't jump. She just looked up. Her face was tired. No makeup, hair up. There were 3 mugs on the table. All empty. She'd been waiting a while. She said, hey. I said nothing. I just stood in the doorway like an idiot. She stood up and walked to me. She didn't hug me. She just put her hand on my chest, right over my heart. She could feel it pounding. Then she said it. 7 words. I know you lost your job in March. My stomach dropped. I couldn't breathe. I opened my mouth to lie again. Nothing came out. She said, I also know about the bar. And Jenna, her voice didn't shake. I was waiting for you to tell me yourself. That was it. That was the line. The whole game I'd been playing was over. She'd known the whole time. And she'd stayed anyway. I sat down hard on the kitchen chair. My hands were shaking. I said, why didn't you leave? It came out like a whisper. She looked at me for a long time. Kitchen silence. Then she said, because I love you. Even like this. I told her everything that night. About the parking lot, the fake shifts, testing her, being scared she'd leave, so I tried to make her leave first. It sounded insane out loud. She listened. She didn't interrupt. When I finished, she was crying quietly, not sobbing, just tears running down. She said, do you want me to go? I shook my head so fast I got dizzy. I said, I don't know how to be loved like this. We didn't sleep. We sat at that table until the sun came up. The light over the stove was still on. The coffee pot was empty. Neither of us moved to make more. The next few weeks were bad. Not fighting bad, quiet bad. She still made coffee, but she didn't leave notes. She still left the porch light on, but she went to bed early with her back to me. Did I got the warehouse job back, different shift. I started coming home on time. It didn't fix anything. Trust doesn't come back because you start telling the truth. My friends asked where I'd been. I said nowhere. Jenna texted once. I didn't answer. I deleted her number in front of Anna. She watched me do it. She didn't say thank you. One night, I heard her on the phone with her sister in the hallway. Her voice was low. She said, I don't know if he even likes me or just needs me. My chest caved in. I wanted to walk out there and promise her everything. But promises were what got us here. So I just stood in the bedroom and listened to the hallway footsteps fade. I started having nightmares, not about her leaving, but about her staying and being miserable forever because of me. That felt worse. She started talking to someone alone. She'd come home and not tell me what they talked about. That was fair. I'd kept secrets for months. I realized those 3 things weren't cute habits. They were choices, remembering me, fighting for me, staying. She'd chosen me every day. And I'd spent months trying to prove she wouldn't. I stopped testing her. I started coming home. Answered the phone on the first ring, even if I was in the middle of something. She still left coffee. I drank it, even when it was a little cold. I told her thank you every time. Some nights, she still got quiet. I'd see her staring out the kitchen window. I didn't ask what she was thinking. I just sat next to her. Last month was our anniversary, 4 years. I made dinner. Burned the chicken. She ate it anyway. She said, it's good. That I told her I was sorry again, not for the job or the bar, but for not believing her love was real when she was showing me every day. She said, asterisk, I know. Asterisk, we weren't fixed. I still got scared sometimes. That old voice told me people leave. But then I had proof they don't always. That I had 3 mugs on a table at 2 a.m. That I learned love wasn't big speeches. It wasn't fireworks. That IT was someone remembering your coffee when you forgot yourself. That IT was someone fighting for you quietly. That IT was someone staying when you gave them every reason to go. And the scariest part is, if I had stayed in that truck 5 more minutes that night, she finally would have. Would you like any adjustments to the pacing, tone, or structure? I can refine it further based on your preferences.